Thalassophobia is an intense fear of vast bodies of water. This feeling becomes even more apparent when you imagine being in the middle of the ocean far from land and looking underwater with goggles to see the vast, empty expanse of deep, dark water stretching thousands of feet below you. You don't know how deep it is or what's lurking there, but you know you're utterly helpless against anything that might be down there. In today's video, we will examine 3 offshore diving incidents. As always, viewer discretion is advised. A perfect depiction of thalassophobia is the iconic photo of a diver standing at the edge of an underwater cliff. Below them lies the dark void of the deep ocean. Imagine there are hundreds, even thousands, of such places worldwide, where geological features create cliffs that rise so high from the unseen ocean floor. The most famous of these places is the Great Blue Hole in Belize, where the deep, dark water of the sinkhole contrasts starkly with the shallow water around it. A lesser-known example of these underwater cliffs is actually off the coast of Vancouver Island, simply known as the Wall. This cliff is just a short boat ride from Nanaimo and descends almost vertically to a depth of 500 feet, 152.4 meters. Before diving at this site, it's crucial to ensure your buoyancy control is perfect. If you make a mistake, you could drop 500 feet into the dark ocean. From the surface, it starts as a gently sloping shallow shelf, but as you go deeper, it turns into a terrifying abyss descending into darkness. Despite this, the wall is teeming with marine life, both on the cliff itself and in the surrounding water. Curious seals and sea lions often approach divers in the water, making it a popular dive spot despite the feelings it might evoke in those with thalassophobia. In October 2013, 3 men planned a technical dive to explore the deeper sections of the wall. Technical diving differs from recreational diving as it usually involves depths beyond standard recreational limits and requires special training and equipment. Due to the depth, divers need to use a different gas mixture than regular air to avoid nitrogen narcosis. This mixture, often a trimix of nitrogen, helium, and oxygen, varies based on the specific depth. Using the correct mix is crucial, as the wrong mix can lead to passing out or other severe consequences. They plan to descend to about 200 feet, 60 meters, to observe marine life. About 12 minutes into their dive, they had already reached this depth when suddenly one of the men lost consciousness and began sinking uncontrollably down the wall. His dive partner panicked and swam after him, reaching him at around 250 feet, 76.2 meters. He tried to revive him but failed due to shock or a technical mistake and rapidly ascended to the surface uncontrollably. This was another critical error, as such deep dives require a slow ascent based on dive duration and depth. Rapid ascent can cause dissolved gases in the blood to form bubbles in tissues and blood vessels, a condition ranging from mild decompression sickness to severe cases where bubbles block arteries and veins, known as arterial gas embolism, potentially leading to strokes or heart attacks. When he surfaced, he suffered complete heart failure due to extensive gas embolism in his heart and brain. The third man surfaced safely but too late. Authorities were notified, and a search was initiated for the last diver still in the water. He was found 2 days later, having lost consciousness due to oxygen toxicity and nitrogen narcosis. His body was recovered from 250 feet. Tom and a woman named Eileen attended Louisiana University in the late 1980s. They instantly bonded and married before finishing school. Since then, friends and family described them as completely in love. Their idealism eventually led them to join the Peace Corps, a group of volunteers who travel to impoverished countries to participate in humanitarian efforts. During their 2-year tour, they traveled to the South Pacific islands of Fiji and Tuvalu, and at the end of their tour, decided to visit the Great Barrier Reef for their 10th wedding anniversary. It was not only a place they had always wanted to see but also close to their deployment location. Additionally, when they first met, Eileen was already a passionate diver and had introduced Tom to the activity. Since then, they both loved diving together. In January 1998, the couple arrived in Port Douglas, Australia, to dive at the Great Barrier Reef. They found a tour that would take 26 passengers to an area known as St. Crispin's Reef, located 40 kilometers, 24.85 miles, off the coast of Queensland. This is one of the many subsections of the larger structure. Despite being far from shore, tours frequently bring tourists to this area to experience the incredible dive. When they arrived at the dive site, Tom and Eileen donned their diving gear and plunged into the beautiful blue waters of the Coral Sea. After some time, all 26 passengers returned to the boat. A head count was done to confirm, and the boat returned to Port Douglas. However, as the crew conducted the head count, 2 passengers jumped into the water and then reboarded the boat, skewing the count and missing the fact that 2 passengers were still in the water. Sometime later, Tom and Eileen surfaced to find the boat gone. They were so far from shore that they couldn't even see the coast, and even if they knew which direction it was, they couldn't swim to it. They were horrified to realize they were stranded in the middle of the ocean. This area off the coast of Australia is known for its giant 5-meter, 16.4-foot, tiger sharks. All the fish and other marine life make it a perfect feeding ground for these large predators. Additionally, Tom and Eileen had no food or water and no way to call for help. 2 days later, the captain of the expedition boat was cleaning up some of the leftover belongings and found 2 bags. In the bags were the wallets and passports of Tom and Eileen Lonergan. Upon finding these, he must have realized that if they had gotten off the boat on land, they would have quickly returned to get these important items, so if they hadn't come to get them, they must have been left stranded in the ocean. He immediately contacted the police, and a massive search was launched by the Australian Navy, including flyovers by planes and helicopters. Unfortunately, by the time the search was launched, it was too late, and Tom and Eileen were never seen again. 6 months later, a wetsuit washed up on the shore about 75 kilometers, 46.6 miles, from Port Douglas. The wetsuit matched the same size that Eileen would have worn, but initially, investigators couldn't assume it was hers. Unfortunately, a little while later, more equipment was found, including 2 inflatable dive jackets with the couple's names written on them, Eileen's fins, and her compressed air tanks. They also recovered a diver's slate with a message on it. It had the date and time they had been abandoned and a plea for help. Based on these findings, investigators felt that it was unlikely that a shark attack had occurred because there was no blood found anywhere on the wetsuit. Although the wetsuit was torn, the barnacle growth on it suggested that it had been submerged since the disappearance and had likely rubbed along the coral of the reef, tearing the material. Following this revelation, the case became an internationally publicized event. The fact that it was 2 Americans who had gone missing in another country also added to the coverage. Initially, there was some speculation that the couple might have staged it, but this was quickly ruled out because neither of their bank accounts had been touched and their life insurance policies remained intact. The company in charge of the expeditions was also brought up on charges, and the ensuing legal battle led to even more controversy. The company's legal team even released segments of Tom and Eileen's diaries to the press that seemed to suggest that Tom had planned an escape in advance and that Eileen feared for her safety. Friends and family of the couple disputed these claims, stating that the passages were taken out of context. Only small segments were released to the press, while full context versions were available to law enforcement. Eventually, the captain of the expedition crew was found not guilty, but his company was charged with negligence and went out of business as a result. The leading theory is that the couple floated in the open ocean until they became severely dehydrated. Severe dehydration is said to cause hallucinations, which might have led to the couple to take off their gear and swim downwards, thinking they were going to be rescued. It's possible they eventually passed out and drowned. To this day, the full story of what happened remains a mystery. In 1988, a dive club off the coast of Vancouver Island, Canada, planned to explore a location known as an underwater cave or lava tube. This is a popular dive site near Nanaimo along the west coast of Canada. This cave system has confined spaces where air can get trapped, and it's generally considered a dive site for experienced divers. However, some parts are accessible to less experienced divers. Even so, this system has several local known dangers. One is the ease of getting lost inside, and if you do get lost, you quickly burn through your oxygen supply. Secondly, the temperature in some parts of the cave system can drop significantly, and without proper insulation, this can lead to hypothermia. This is dangerous because it consumes more energy than usual, leading to increased oxygen consumption. The caves also have a slight current, making it relatively easy to swim freely inside. The group entered the cave to dive at specific points. Some divers found large air bubbles and spent some time there. However, when they re-entered the water, they didn't realize that the air bubble was a trap with small air holes. Additionally, some divers strayed off their path to explore other parts of the cave. This caused both groups to lose their way inside. Later, as they tried to find each other within the cave system, some divers noticed their oxygen tanks' alarms going off. Oxygen was running low, and panic set in. Consequently, 4 divers trapped inside died from oxygen depletion. This incident highlighted the risks of cave diving and underscored the need for proper training and preparation for such dives.